Have you ever wondered how a fire outside in a big steel box can heat your house inside? Well, stick around, we're going to show you how. Hey, I'm Chris with Maynard DIY, and today we're going to be covering our outdoor wood boiler, specifically this Crown Royal Stove 7300E, and how we heat our house and our domestic hot water with this unit. So if you're not familiar, this is an outdoor wood boiler. The firewood goes in here, gets all burned up. This particular unit is a gasification wood boiler, so that means it's actually a downdraft. So the fire actually goes down through here, through the back, and then up some turbulator tubes up through the chimney. So that, and it's passing through the water jacket as it's doing that. So that means as the heat from the firebox goes in, it's going to heat that water that's in the jacket. So let's go around back. Alright, so here's where the back of the unit here, this is where some of the magic happens. So we'll just give you a quick tour of all the parts and pieces it takes to make this happen. So the heat or the fire comes through this back here inside. This is just a clean out door, which if you've seen any of my other clean out videos, then you'll know how that looks inside. But the heat comes through there, and there's some tubes up through here. And then it all kind of goes in this little chamber here where the fan is. That's really giving it the heat. And then it goes out the chimney up the top. So inside here, there's a water jacket, and that's what these pipes are for. So this particular boiler actually has two zones that you can run off from. So we're only using one of them. So that's why this one here is capped off. And then that one down there is capped off as well. This one up here is our return line. So this is where the water comes back from the house, and it's a little cooler than when it left. And then this one down here with the pump is our feed or supply line. So that is pumping the water to the house. So basically this is a closed loop. So it just pumps to the house and back again, and comes back a little cooler. The fire heats the water, sends it back out here, and then on it goes. In that black pipe is 2 1.25 inch PEX lines that are filled, surrounded by spray foam. And so that's gonna, keep the pipe from freezing, and it's gonna create the most efficiency while we're doing the heating process. So this line goes underground. Over to that box over there that we built to kind of hide the pipes, which you can check that video out here, and that's going to show you how I did that. This is the oil boiler. This was already in the house. This is a Biasi boiler. These are supposed to be pretty high efficiency, and I'm sure it is, but at the price of oil, it's still expensive no matter how efficient it is. So this is currently in use as a backup. This does not run in normal operation, but if needed, it will. This is where the pipes come in from the outside. So our bottom one here is our supply line, so that is the hotter of the two. It then comes into this plate exchanger, and it just loops right back out and goes back to the boiler to be heated again. So that circulator pump at a boiler, that is running 24/7. So it's constantly looping. What we have here, this is an aquastat. So basically it's just like a light switch. It tells the oil boiler that if this pipe coming through here is a certain whatever set temperature we have there, which I believe I have that set to about 170, then whatever set temperature we have, then that means that it will not let the oil boiler fire up if it says that this pipe is hot enough. Now, if for whatever reason you forgot to load your wood boiler, or the fire went out, extended period of time, you went away, then that would say it's too cold, and it would let the boiler fire. Now you may notice I also added a little toggle switch right here. Now this in normal operation should not be used. If I flip this switch off here, That means that no matter what this aquastat says, even if it says the water temperature is cold, it is not going to allow my boiler to fire. So in normal operation, we want to leave that on. There's two circumstances where this little override switch would be used. One, if your wood boiler hit the high temp water limit, that means that the water has gotten too hot. In this case, if it gets to 190 degrees, then it's going to prevent the wood boiler from kicking the fan on until it gets down to 145 degrees. The trouble with that is, in that interim, the water cools down lower than the aquastat is set. It fires the oil boiler, which really prevents the cooling down of that water out in the wood boiler jacket. So, in a case like that, I can just flip this switch here, and that's going to make the oil boiler not heat the water, and it's going to, force the wood boiler to be heating the house even at a lower temperature and drawing that water temperature down so we can get that boiler back up online again. The second circumstance where you would use this override switch is we have had it happen where we had a power outage, so the water is not circulating through this loop, thus heating and telling this aquastat that it's hot enough. So when you first initially get the power back on, the oil boiler wants to fire if the house is calling for heat because that aquastat is saying the water's too cool. So I'll just turn the switch off for 5 minutes, maybe 10, just to allow that water to circulate from the wood boiler again and heat that up so that way we're not burning any oil. That's the whole goal here, is we want to save money by not burning oil. We want to just burn the wood to heat the house and the domestic hot water. Speaking of domestic hot water, you may have noticed right behind me here, this big tank. This is called an indirect water heater. Basically, in these pipes here, same idea as this loop here. So the hot water comes through and heats up a copper coil inside there. So this water here and our domestic water never actually touch. They just heat by conducting heat around, in the tank. Off this plate heat exchanger, these are the pipes that go and heat the whole system. So this is our original plumbing setup here. This pipe used to just go right straight up. So our installer plumbed this in. So these are valved very nicely. So when this is in the off position, these two want to be on. So it forces that water to come and get heated up by this plate exchanger here and then send it to the rest of the house. This is the supply side of the heating system. The cooler water comes back through here and gets heated and then goes out to the house hotter than it came in. Then it gets distributed. We have 3 zones here. So we have an upstairs, downstairs, and then this indirect water heater tank is a zone on itself as well. So where we live in central Maine here, we have moderately hard water. We currently don't have a water softening system or anything like that. And currently there's no filter in this whole system here. In the back of my mind, that's kind of been a slight concern for me. Don't know if it's ever going to be an issue or not. Leave me a comment below if you guys have a filter. I've seen what they call, I think, a Y strainer, or what kind of filtration do you have in your system? Is it even necessary, or does it never cause a problem? So on occasion, the wood boiler out the water jacket will kind of dissipate over time, and so that needs to be filled up. I'll show you right here. We have the float that goes up and down, so it lets you know when it needs to be filled up. But this is the process that we use, that my installer put in. I like it for filling the water in the tank outside. So he teed in right here, so we have this valve that ties right into that, and that just goes right down to a boiler drain at the base of the indirect water heater. So this is cold water that comes out of there. So I can open up the bottom valve there, and I can open up this valve up here, and that will make more water go in through this loop here and fill the water jacket. So all I have to do is crack that open, go outside, see when the needle gets to the top, and it's full. So something to keep in mind is when you're filling your wood boiler with water, you want to fill it at the highest set temperature that it generally gets. If you fill it at 170 degrees and then it kicks on and it goes up to 180 degrees, then that water is actually going to spill out because it's going to expand and it's going to spill out of your boiler. So that's just wasting water, plus the chemical that you have to put in there, it's going to waste that as well. So you want to make sure when you're filling your boiler, fill it at the highest temperature that it generally gets, and then fill that up to where the gauge says full. In our heating system, we use circulator pumps rather than zone valves. In a zone valved system, you have one circulator pump and then multiple valves will open up for each individual zone. But in this system, we have 3 different zone valves for our 3 zones. Those are all controlled down here at our pump controller board, and they're nicely labeled here so I can look anytime and see which one is calling. The little red LED light will light up there when one of these is calling. Another good thing that my installer did was he put this whole wood boiler on this light switch. So anytime, for whatever reason, I can flip the switch and that's going to kill the power to the whole entire wood boiler, circulator pump included. If we have to do any service work on it or anything, we can kill the power right there. Also, that is tied in with this fuse here. So if anything ever went awry in our heating system inside, it would thus kill the power to the outside. All right, so I think that pretty much wraps up our overview of how fire in a box outside heats the house inside as well as the domestic hot water. If I missed anything, if you have any other questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'd be happy to cover anything a little more in detail. So if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, share it with your friends. Leave a comment down below. How do you heat your house? Do you heat it with oil, electric, propane, natural gas, wood boiler? Yeah, let us know so that way we can all kind of see how things are done in the different parts of the world. We'll see you on the next video, whatever we're doing around the house.